This is for you guys who doubt the magic of leveling your fretboard in place over the body, and I know you guys are out there because I read the comments. This, I'm going to use the fret rocker here. This is without any fretwork done to the fret tops. All I did was hammer them in. There's the tiniest rock. Finally found something. And I can just hit that fret with the hammer. But, I mean, the point I'm making here, there isn't even the tiniest whisper of a rattle off of the fret rocker right now. And again, this is with 0 fretwork. I'm going to go ahead and address that one little fret end there, but there you go, guys. I just wanted to show you that all that work, because I think that's why a lot of you don't like to do it, leveling the fretboard, radiusing the fretboard over the body. But hey, I'm not going to be leveling these frets, so which means I get to retain the full height of them, which is really cool for the longevity and durability of the instrument and the playability, because it's a different feel when you have those high frets, and I don't have to, you know, spend all that time doing the fretwork. Anyway, let's keep going. I got to get this bridge glued on here quick. I'm not going to film any of that stuff. I have to level the height of the bridge to the fret tops, locate the bridge, glue it down. I want to get that done early today so that I can let it sit for at least 6 hours and then be able to take the clamp off and continue working on the guitar. So that means it's going to be a long day, of course. So anyway, I'll see you guys when I got the bridge back on. Okay, the bridge is glued down using my special bridge clamp here. We're gonna go ahead and work on other parts of the guitar. That's the beauty of using a Fox style bridge clamp instead of a bunch of clamps feeding in through the sound hole. And actually, one thing I just want to vent about, about the sound hole, is one thing I've noticed both on the last guitar, which was a Parlor like this, and on this guitar, is that I have been having a lot of difficulty with this very small sound hole. I almost wasn't even able to get my hand and wrist into the sound hole to put on this bridge clamp here. It was a bit of a panicky situation trying to get the bolts underneath. Almost equally as panicky trying to then get my hand back out of the sound hole. Also, when I was attaching the frets, installing the frets, the fret buck, which is this big thing right here, which feeds in, this part of the tool feeds into the sound hole, and then this rests on top. This is just to reduce recoil over the body. I couldn't get this into the sound hole and back out of it without denting up the edges of the sound hole pretty bad, which I already kind of fixed because the wood was compressed. I just used a little bit of moisture and a little bit of heat to decompress that wood. A number of points, I'm just realizing that this sound hole is almost too small to work with. Now, I made it work, but just barely. But for the next guitar, I might have to maybe just honestly add like a millimeter. Just a tad more room in there for the various tools and things that have to go in there to make the build process work, including my own hand. That's not always the way that luthiers like to do things. We don't want to have to design the guitar around the tooling that we have. Ideally, we want to be able to design whatever comes to our minds and then build the tooling, the jigs, make the accommodations to make that design work. So I'm a little bit torn here, but honestly, it's just so easy to increase that hole size by just 1 millimeter, and I don't think it'll make a huge difference. We'll see what I do. Just wanted to kind of share that thought process with you guys. And I'm going to jump to the fret ends now, which are nice and spiky and sharp, and I'm going to file the fret tangs down against the fretboard, and then also I'm going to file a bevel into the sides of the fretboard. But so far things are looking good. I'm making progress. I've got a little bit of things to do while this bridge cures, and then we can take the clamp off later tonight. And another late night I will be hopefully routing the saddle slot and working on the saddle and maybe even the nut. we'll see how far I get. Let's get to work. Okay, so first I'm going to get my top protector on here because we're about to file these ends. We go ahead and start on the right hand side for no particular reason, because I'm right-handed, and we're just going to be using a single cut file like this. StewMac sells this for just this purpose. Really the only special thing about the StewMac file is that it's ergonomic. They made this nice little block that fits your hand, which is pretty nice, but you can do this job with just a regular single cut file without the block. So the biggest thing here is I kind of wrap my thumb around and let my thumb ride over top of the fretboard. Literally, I can feel each fret as my thumb rides over it, and that keeps me anchored down to the board so I don't accidentally skip up and bounce the file across the fret tops. Just like that. Now the first pass is very rough, and then it gets a lot smoother from there. And once the tangs are all nice and tucked in, I'm going to take the same file and using it in really the same exact fashion, except tilting it just a little bit, I'm going to now form the bevels on my fret wire. So I'm really just eyeballing the angle. It's not as hard as it sounds to just eyeball this angle, because as I'm carving with the file, I'm watching the progress that I'm making and I'm adapting on the fly. So I might increase that angle slightly if I feel like I'm not giving it enough, or vice versa. So here I'm gluing the frets in. You don't have to glue the frets in, but I always do. I think it's a good idea to glue the frets in. It's really a good insurance policy against particularly the fret ends lifting, which is very common. I'm sure if you've messed with guitars long enough, you've experienced that. And a simple little insurance policy here is just to wick a little bit of water-thin CA glue along the edge, just like that. The thing I put on with the Q-tip ahead of time, that's paste wax, which just helps with the cleanup, which you're going to see me do now. So that way it's no mess. I keep little bits of scrap paper towel here so that I can clean this up. I don't want to just let the CA glue harden in the sort of corner of the fret and have to clean that up later with steel wool or anything like that. The more I can get it off right now, the better. Okay, that one looks good. Now which fret did I just do? I can't tell. I might have to look back at this, watch back this video just to see which fret I was just doing. And now finally, let's just dress up the ends of the files, not the ends of the files, dress up the fret ends by using this little fret end dressing file to take the burrs off. Because if I feel the frets down here, they're still very sharp. They look good, but they're very sharp on my fingertip. This first one here I did, and this one feels very smooth and great. So again, all we're doing is deburring. This often gets mistaken as rounding, which makes you sort of dramatically round over those fret ends, which usually just is too much. Like it doesn't look right. So really it's nothing more than a couple light airy passes like that, and then you move on to the next one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, friends out there, it is getting late here. I have gotten quite a bit done. The fretboard and all the fretwork is looking pretty snazzy right now, nice and glossy. And I just shaped the nut. You can see it's got that curved ramp shape into the top. This is just rough shaping, right? The kind of stuff you do before nut slotting. And I fit the nut, which is very important, getting a very tight, almost like creaky fit. Like I want it to just creak into place, you know, make that sound as you're pressing it in there. Just to kind of show off a little bit, if you do it right, you should be able to pick up the whole guitar by the nut like that. I mean, if you can't do that, it's not the end of the world, but that's just kind of extra points if you can. Still haven't taken the bridge clamp off. I still probably will do that tonight because I really want to get this done in time. So I am probably going to take this bridge clamp off and route the saddle slot tonight. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and fit the tuners. Literally going to flip this over onto its back. And I'm going to ream with this big violin peg hole reamer that I have here. I'm going to ream out these tuners so that they fit. Right now, the holes are all just slightly undersized, and then you ream them to get the appropriate taper for a snug fit. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera in order, you know, to speed everything up for myself, and then you'll see where I'm at tomorrow morning. Bye-bye. If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.